Hello, I'm Alistair Cooper, and thanks for sparing the time again to join us for Strategy 3 of the PlanningGame.com 7 free strategy series. Today we're going to have a look at permitted development. Now, the bizarre thing about permitted development is it's a way to develop a property and profit from it without actually gaining planning permission at all. So why is someone who's keen on the planning game wanting to talk to you about a strategy where you don't need planning permission? Well, basically it means you can get ahead a lot quicker. Gaining planning permission often takes 8, 16 weeks or even longer. And so if you can develop property without having to gain planning permission, you can get your ball rolling a lot quicker. You'll still need a building inspector, by the way, even when you develop under what's called permitted development. Their two functions are very different. The building inspector is interested in making sure that you stick to the regulations when it comes to particular construction practices, etc. Whereas the planning department is only interested in what the building will look like once it's finished. So why do we have permitted development? Well, basically it's a way of freeing up the planning departments so they're not overwhelmed with applications. And so basically it means that you can develop up to certain limits without needing to apply for full permission. Generally these are 70 cubic meters for semi-detached and detached dwellings and 50 cubic meters for terrace dwellings. In London you're generally capped at 50 cubic meters, and this means that you can develop a reasonable sized rear extension, in old-fashioned language something like 20 foot wide by 10 foot deep, or as a single story anyway, without having to actually go and get permission. You can also develop other areas of the house, like the roof space for example, under permitted development, as long as you don't have to have dormers and you only need Velux windows. Again, generally these are considered as only permitted development. It's worthwhile getting what's called a certificate of lawfulness, depending on what your exit strategy is. Basically this is like a watered down version of planning permission, and it's quite cheap to apply for, and it's just a certificate from the council basically to confirm that what you developed wouldn't have required full planning permission. This is important if you're going to sell the development on, because the solicitor of the person buying your property will want to be sure that you haven't illegally developed the property. So let's have a look at an example, shall we? This is a typical bungalow in Chiswell Green, just to the north of St Albans. It was a 2-bedroom semi-detached bungalow, and it looks pretty boring, doesn't it, let's be fair. But again, as a developer I'm interested in what I can make out of the property, not what it looks like now. And also I'm interested if it's available for the right price. Fortunately this one was. You can see by having a look at the back that someone's already extended into the roof space. If we look at the picture on the left, that actually only created a small study, and there wasn't actually a proper staircase. But you can see also, if we look to the picture on the right, that the next door neighbour's already developed into the roof space and added a rear dormer window. So should I have wanted to go for full permission and add a rear dormer, then I probably wouldn't have had too much problem. But I was more interested in extending the rear of the property in order to create more living space and add further bedrooms, because I knew this is where I could add the most profit and realise the greatest price for this house on its resale. But in fact what I could do here was have my cake and eat it, because I could build a 70 cubic metre extension to the rear, which provided me with a lovely lounge dining room and allowed me to convert the old kitchen into a further bedroom. So it took the property from 2 bedrooms to 3. But also convert the roof space, because fortunately in this case I had sufficient space upstairs to allow a perfectly reasonable head height and a really large room without having to use rear dormers. So why wouldn't I go for rear dormers? Well, because the rear dormer and the rear extension that I was planning, if I added them together, would come to more than 70 cubic metres, and so therefore I'd have to go through the whole process of applying for planning. And in this particular case I just considered it wasn't worth it just for the ability to add the rear dormer. So I actually added rear Velux windows, went down this road this way. So let's have a look at the numbers, shall we? Well, it looks like any other house. I purchased it again for £250,000. Now what's the obvious strategy to profit from this property? Well, the rear extension. What's not so obvious? Well, it's to convert the loft without the need for dormers. The beauty is I've no need for any planning. So in this example I've actually been able to increase the floor space of this property by 60% without actually having to get any planning permission. And there'll be plenty of opportunities like this within your local area. You just need to have the knowledge and the confidence to go out and find them. So what's the numbers? Well, it's cost me about £80,000 to completely refurbish the house, build the rear extension and convert the loft. Now 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom properties, which is what it is now, resell in the area for around £450,000. So it gives me a gross profit over £120,000. And remember, this is without the need to go for full planning permission. So I really do hope that you can scour around your local area and find some examples of where you could profit by using permitted development. So let's have a look at a few caveats. Well, now permitted development is limited to the whole lifetime of the property, i.e. you can only extend by that magic 50 or 70 cubic metres from the original footprint of the property. So if any previous work's been undertaken to extend the property, then you have more than likely used up some, or more likely the majority, of the permitted development allowance. So therefore, if you wanted to extend further, you'd have to go and apply for full planning permission. Also, permitted development can often be withdrawn, i.e. if the local authority thinks there's too much development going on in a particular area and it may lead to overdevelopment, they can actually withdraw the permitted development rights. And so when you're purchasing a property, you need to make sure that you read the local search carefully, or just contact the local planning department and ensure that permitted development rights have not been withdrawn for the particular property you're looking to purchase. They're often with new build developments withdrawn from day one, i.e. as a condition of the permission for the new houses to be built, it will state that there will be no permitted development rights. This is because they often feel that the development is built to its maximum capacity in the first place, and therefore allowing every individual property the right to extend by 70 cubic metres would just lead to an overdevelopment of the site. It's also possible to get a certificate of lawfulness retrospectively, i.e. you can start on day one, as long as you've got your building inspector on board, finish the development, and then go and apply for a certificate of lawfulness, or even have that process undergoing whilst you're undergoing the development. This means that you can turn around these deals really quickly, i.e. it typically takes about 8 weeks to get a certificate of lawfulness. Well, if it's only a simple extension and refurbishment, you could probably complete the whole development in the 8 weeks, get the property back on the market, and by the time you've sold, you have the certificate. And also bear in mind that permitted development doesn't apply to 2-storey extensions or to developing to the front of the property. So generally front extensions, again, that may interfere with the current building line, would always need full planning permission. So I hope that's given you a few ideas, and it'll give you the confidence to have a look around your local area and find some developments that could be easily undertaken by using PD, i.e. not having to apply for planning permission. I've got a 1-day workshop coming up. Now, why am I talking to you about this? Well, these are 7 free strategies, and I hope you really benefit from them. But if you really want to win the planning game, you'll need to gain an in-depth knowledge of the system. And you also need to build up the confidence. And this will only come, as I say, by knowledge and sharing experiences with others. So I want to get you together for a really practical 1-day workshop held in Heathrow, near London. And we'll look at we'll try and break down all the jargon. We'll look at the whole process. So we'll take you hand by hand through the process of looking for opportunities, calculating whether it's profitable to develop or not, how to get plans drawn up, the best way to apply for planning permission, the best way to give yourself the best advantage of gaining permission, and basically take you through the whole process to winning that planning permission, getting builders in, getting the project finished and getting it sold, and you winning with a great big profit. That's known as winning the planning game. We give you guidance to achieve your goals, and we want you to leave with all the skills and the confidence to go out the very next day sourcing opportunities and to start winning the planning game. I look forward to speaking to you again soon and to seeing you on the workshop. Best of luck. Thanks.